Before you start the lab, read a little bit about the disclaimer. So this disclaimer just to confirm that you shouldn't convert any subscriptions to the paid subscriptions, and this tenant is only available during the course, and also if it allows you to use up to 180 days, you will be able to access it for up to 180 days. So it depends on the course basis. So for this course, you should be eligible for the Azure access. So this Azure is a trial subscriptions. Do not convert it into the paid subscriptions. If you haven't done so, please do log in to your virtual machine. The user ID and password is stated here, or you can see under the resources. This is the login to the virtual machine. This is the login to your Microsoft 365 tenant. The Azure Pass is provided for us to be used as per lab requirements. So later, if you need to redeem your Azure Pass, please do so. This Practice Lab 0, you will just need to validate your lab environment. So the terms of use here, so it shouldn't be shared for purpose outside the hands-on lab, and also again not converted to the paid subscriptions. And also sometimes the lab provided the step-by-step, it's not, so the lab step-by-step sometimes it's not according to the latest versions, so we have to adjust accordingly. Okay, so this one, because Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, they are evolving all the time, so the instructions in these documentations may be different from the one that we see on the screen. So please do adjust the step accordingly. Now the first exercise for this lab validations is we just need to download lab files. To download the lab files, we can go to the GitHub and download it into a folder that we created called lab files. Or if you want to practice your PowerShell, they provide the PowerShell command here for you to create the folder in the C drive, and also to download from the GitHub and unzip using the command in PowerShell. Make sure you copy all into the folder that you have created before, and remove the zip file once you already unzip it. So this is optional steps. If you want, you can directly go to the GitHub and create the folder from the graphical user interface. So let's practice our PowerShell command to do just that. We are going to run PowerShell command. So I'm going to use PowerShell integrated script environment instead. If you haven't launched it, all you need to do just search PowerShell, and then you will see two PowerShell here. I prefer to use PowerShell ISE because you can save the script later on for future use if needed. Now run as administrator. Say yes. Now run the first command. If you don't need this window, you can temporarily close it. The first command here is just creating the new folder in the C drive. Okay, you're going to create the folder called lab files in the C drive. Okay, so this is your C drive before you run the code. Now let's run the code. Okay, so if you open, you will see lab files folder. Now let's do the second command. This second command will download the zip file for all your labs from GitHub. So if you want to do it not via PowerShell scripting, feel free to open up your browser, either Edge or Google Chrome, and then run it. Okay, so it will download the zip file for you. There you go. Or you can run this particular command. It will do the exact same thing. Yeah. So if you run this command, you will download this in the folder that you created before under the name master.zip. Okay. If you download via internet browser, you notice it will be under the downloads folder. So whichever that you think is better. Okay, so I will do the both of the steps. Now let's download it via PowerShell script and put it directly into the C labs files folder that we have just created on the previous step, and rename this. Make sure the name of the zip file is the same name, master.zip. Now let's run this. Wait for a while. It should be in your C drive, lab files. Okay, master.zip. The next step, we are going to unzip it. To unzip, there is the PowerShell command called expand archive. Notice that it's already unzipped. The next step is we are going to move the files to C lab files. Okay, because currently notice that okay, it is inside this folder. We want to move this lab files folder only into the C lab files. So we're going to move this folder into the C lab files folder. So you can either do it manually using the GUI, or if you want to practice your PowerShell command, this is the PowerShell command to move the file. So do move item dash path. So if we go to this particular directory, the path directory, and copy all the files inside into the C lab files folder, and without asking the confirmations. So let's do just that and see what happened. Okay, so later you will see all your lab file will be copied here. Let's run this. There you go. Yeah. Now the next one is we just need to delete the zip files that we no longer need. And so the zip file, we are going to remove it, and we are going to remove the rest of the folder as well, since we only need these lab files. Okay, so we need all these lab files only. We are going to remove the master zip and this folder. Okay, so you can do it from the graphical user interface by right clicking and delete, or you can practice the PowerShell command remove dash item to remove the items for the whole directory. Then now we are going to remove the master.zip. Okay, so once it's done, you no longer have any other file except all the labs file. Now it's done, you can close this. Okay, for what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this inside the scripts folder. I'm going to call this lab 0. Second exercise, we are going to check our Power Platform license. Open your browser and go to admin.microsoft.com. You can click the T here. Then we sign in. Remember, to sign in, you can enter the email address that you have, or in this case, since the lab already provided us with the username and password, we are going to use just that and the password. Make sure you sign up for Power Apps Developer. Okay, so for now, as you notice, you can check the admin Microsoft environment. The lab environment already provided several users for your convenience for your lab later on. After that, the second task is for you to go to powerapps.microsoft.com. Now, this Power Apps website provided you with the trial versions. Okay, you can click start free from here or try for free. And put the email address that has been provided for us. Start free. Once the registration is completed, just click the sign in button or go to make.powerapps.com and sign in. Okay, so you don't need this anymore. If it prompted you with the user ID and password, put in this username and password. Otherwise, just continue. Okay. Now, it might ask you for the phone number. Just put some random phone number for now. Submit. And it's ready to get started. Now by default, they will ask you what has been changed since the last update, and also sometimes they invite you for the launch event. For example, in this case, they have another launch event on April 10th. If you would like to, you can register. Now let's take a look whether the user has been assigned proper license. Make sure you go back to your admin.microsoft.com website. Make sure you go to the active users. Since we log in as mod administrator, make sure you scroll down to mod administrator and check the license. And go to your license and apps. Make sure you already have the license Power Apps for Developer and Power Automate. Save changes or close. Now let's take a look on other users that we are going to use in our lab. Make sure you have been assigned a proper license as well. So tick everyone except we already checked mod administrator, so we can untick that one. And you don't have to tick service account as well. Click the ellipsis on the right hand side and go to manage product license. Click the assign more. Make sure you assign Power Apps for Developer. Click save changes. And done. Let's take a look on the environment itself. So notice that when you log into Power Apps, this is Power Apps Maker portal. When you log into Power Apps Maker portal, notice that there is an environment over here. It will automatically go to either the default environment, or once you register for the free versions of Power Apps for the developer, you automatically will be given another environment called Dev 1. Now let's take a look on the website to manage those environment. You can create another one for yourself. To do that, go to admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. Get started, and on the left hand side, go to environment. Okay, notice those two environments that we saw when we go to Power Apps Maker portal. So this is very important. This is like the environment. If you imagine this as the on-premise, you can think of it like a server for you to store all your applications inside this server environment. Now we are going to create our own server for our testing environment. So to do that, make sure you click New to create a new environment. Give some meaningful name for your environment, for example, your initials and then development. Let's say I call it EW development. For the lab purposes, since this lab is being hosted in US, leave the region as United States. For the type, we are going to use the free developer versions. Go next. Let's check first. Create on behalf. So you're not creating on behalf on anyone. By default, it will add the Dataverse if you select the developer versions. Next. Now on Add Dataverse, you can save the changes. Unless you want to deploy sample applications and data, then you can turn it as yes. If this is your own lab environment, for example, in real life, you can actually deploy some sample apps and data to give you some inspirations to create the new apps and the data modeling. For now, we are going to leave it as it is without deploying any sample apps and data. Now notice that the new environment will be created. So when you go to Power Apps Maker portal, when you refresh this, you will see the environment that you have just created, and you can switch to that environment that you have just created. So if it isn't displayed yet, it might take some time for the environment to be populated. Okay, so now it's ready. It should be there now. You can refresh. Or if it still doesn't display, you can close the whole browser and reopen it. Okay, so close the whole browser and reopen Power Apps Maker portal, which is make.powerapps.com. Now if you click the environment, you should be able to see your environments already. It's still not yet, and we just wait for some time. Now while waiting for the environment to be displayed in our Power Apps Maker portal, let's make some changes to your current environment first. So if you open the environment, you will notice the setting button over here. Now we can explore what setting that you can update. For example, you can check your product behavior, the collaborations. You want to do team integrations, features. So after you explore all the area in setting, calendar, okay, connections role, and so on, currencies. Now some of these you might only use it if you have a certain Microsoft Dynamics 365 environment. For example, for the queues is usually being used in the customer service, Dynamics 365 customer service. Okay. Now if you're interested to set up the user role, this is under users and permissions. If you click the security role, these are the built-in security role that exist in the environments. Remember, this is the security role to access the environment itself. Okay, so these are the built-in security role. If you created your applications inside this environment, the security role would be, the permission is a different permissions. Okay, that is the permissions for the applications. Now this one is the security role to set up the permissions for the environment, whether they can manage the environment, whether they are just a basic user to access the environment, and so on. Now for now we go back to setting. See a couple of templates there. Okay, so if you haven't created any templates yet, of course it will be empty for now. Now these templates you can create it later on when you have, let's say, Dynamics 365 environment installed inside this environment. Now any other integrations, such as the integrations with SharePoints, you can manage it from here. Okay, so you can check the SharePoint sites that is active. Now under the document management setting here, you can select which entity that can upload the documents in a certain SharePoint site. Okay, so to do that, you have to ask your SharePoint administrator to set up the SharePoint website for you. Okay, so the administrator need to go SharePoint site, create a new site for you, and then can add the SharePoint document locations, and it will be listed here, and then you can enable SharePoint integrations. Okay, so this one only beneficial if you already have your SharePoint document library created by your SharePoint administrator. Okay, so to create SharePoint site, you just go to active site and create one. So what kind of SharePoint sites that you want to create? Okay, select one and then use these templates, give some meaningful name. Okay, so this is the example how to do SharePoint based integrations. Okay, so we are not actually learning that. It's just that in case you need it, you can do that, just that. Okay, so once you do that, you go to SharePoint site, you will notice the site that you already uploaded. Now we are going to explore task 3.2. We are going to create another environment for this. In this case, we are going to create productions environment. So make sure you're already in the adminpowerplatform.com. In the environment, you're going to create a live environment. So you're going to give a name, let's say EW Live, okay, or you can call it productions, whatever the name might be. And the type, make sure it is a developer as well. In real life, you have to set it up as a productions, okay, but for now, since this is the unpaid versions, we are going to have another environment, which is a developer environment, for us to test later on, to migrate informations from one environment to another. Now you should have 4 of them. The one that you're going to use the most is the development, and later on you're going to use the live or productions environment as well. Now the next one, we are going to do the preparations for using the Azure on the last few exercises. So the last few exercises on this PL400, we are going to set up some Azure website, some functions, and some services from there. So you need the Azure Pass. Please do redeem your Azure Pass. Just go to this website. And then start. If you're not sure how to redeem it, there is a step-by-step here in the link called redeem a Microsoft Azure Pass. Okay, so make sure you use this email address, confirm, put the promo code that has been provided for us, input the character, so put the CAPTCHA character there, now put some name for our last name, let's say developers. Now of course you should change this email in real life, okay, for example your work email, okay, but in this case, since this is only the lab environment, you can leave it, or you can make use of this email for the important notifications. Okay, so once it's done, tick I agree and sign up. Put some address line, put some address over there, and then sign up. wait for a while once until it's completed, and then you can write some comment and submit. Once you have redeemed your Azure Pass, you should be able to see something like this, and you can click get started. And if you would like to tick what do you plan to use Azure, you can tick one and next and start the tour. Now for now, we are not going to use this Azure Pass yet, so we can close this, and we are going to do our first exercise.